A holiday
for your houseplants.
Hello and welcome to Get Gardening. I'm Thordis
And I'm Alan Gray.
and we're in Alan's courtyard just outside the back door of his house, where confusingly there are a lot of houseplants not in the house.
Well, you like a holiday, I like a holiday, you like a holiday, and so do the houseplants. So they're out here having a little respite from being cooped up in the house. They're in the fresh air, they get time to breathe. And there's also something else. When they've spent time in the house, I like to bring them out and repot them, put them into some fresh compost. They're in the cool, there's no frost, you have to wait until the frost is finished before you do this. But when we've got fairly even temperatures, I mean, they're just going to be on holiday and they're going to love it.
It's interesting actually, I don't know about you, but I'm guilty of having a houseplant. You kind of forget how long you've had it, it's in its pot, you chuck it some water, you are happy it's still alive. But how often are you repotting it or top dressing it or doing something to liven it up?
Well, once it's in the house, you very seldom do very much at all other than water or feed it. And you probably look out to see if it's got any insects on it or something you don't want. But other than that, no, because you've got to transport it from the house outside to repot it. And we tend to do that once a year.
So it should be once a year?
Yeah. I'd like to show you something. I'd like to show you something over here. On this little table here, there's a plant. It is an epiphytic cactus called an epiphyllum. Now, when I bought this at a plant fair earlier this year, it was neglected in its pot, it was sad, it just looked as if it was about to die. I felt sorry for it. I did a Thordis. Don't tell anybody. And I bought it, and it had 5 flowers on it. But just look here. Come on, come in, look. There is another flower coming on it. That lovely red flower bud there. That will open up into a flower about 4 inches across. Absolutely flamboyantly extravagant. But that says, thank you for repotting me and taking care of me. I'm going to thrive now. So you can see it's satisfied.
But, of course, you can't leave your houseplants outside. They're houseplants for a reason, because they would very much resent our British winter. So when do you bring them in?
Well, I think that, personally, I leave my plants outside for as long as possible. It's impossible to give you a date today because the climate is up and down all over the place. If we get an early frost or the warnings of an early frost, the wheelbarrows come round, they're packed in the greenhouse or in the house and, you know, put to bed for the winter. But I generally like to leave them out until the middle to the end of October so that they have a little bit of a cooling down period which forces them into a bit of a rest. And then they can come into the house and they can do what they like, really, I don't care.
And if they have a rest over winter, how often do you water them in those winter months? Do you change it up depending on the time of year?
Yes, if a plant is not in active growth, which it seldom is in the winter, they get very, very little in the way of water, but you mustn't let them dry out completely. It is a matter of experience. One of the best ways of telling if your plant needs water is to hold the pot. And if you hold the pot and get used to the weight of the pot when it's dry, and when it's wet, you'll know from the weight of it whether it needs watering or not. That's what you have to do in a plastic pot. I tend to use these lovely old terracotta pots. That's a terracotta pot. And the way to tell whether that needs watering is to tap it. That doesn't need watering. It rained like the devil last night, I can tell you that. This one doesn't need watering, but when it's a dull thud, it probably does need watering. And it's also, again, the weight of it.
A holiday?
Oh, sorry. Go on then. Sorry. Yeah.